It needs to be taught correctly.
Mm, sure.
It needs to be taught with this real an understanding of its roots. And then, yes, of course, let's spread it. Let's spread it as much as we can.
Um, there's something I have noticed. People, when they're healthy, when they're okay, they don't think about joining a class. But sometimes they start to feel less energy, or maybe they can't calm the mind. For different reasons, people will turn into yoga, or maybe they get some health condition, and some practitioner will say, "Why don't you try?" Because today,
Yeah,
actually, there are practitioners who are doctors who are sending people to join yoga classes. So, why do you think people wait until then? Why they don't start like when they're healthy?
I think it's quite, well, several things. One is maybe they just don't know until somebody kind of goes, maybe you should try this. But I also think like human beings often put things off. Like we might get an injury and it's not too bad and it's not too painful, so we don't go and check it out until it actually starts being a problem. I just think that's maybe part of human condition, maybe part of actually the lifestyles that we live in our very fast-paced society. Is like, if it's not going to give me immediate benefits instantly, then I'm not interested. Or unless I have to go and do it because of this reason, I don't have time for it. I feel like Colombo, there is a growing population in Colombo specifically that is sort of starting to integrate yoga as a more regular thing in their lives, and it's becoming part of their lifestyle. When I moved here 13, 14 years ago, there was very few people who would be like at a yoga class 3 times a week. Most would be like, I'll come once a week kind of thing. Maybe it takes time for people to understand the benefit of being part of that community. I just think also it's just the nature of how we live and being human. If I don't need it now, then I'll do it later.
Yes, maybe impatient because they want the result.
Yeah,
like just in the next moment.
Exactly.
And everything takes time.
But I think it's just learning. It's, you might live in a place where nobody talks about yoga and nobody talks about how great it is and the benefits of it, and then only when your doctor says maybe you should try it is the time you're going to try it, and then you have gone into that ill health or whatever already. But yeah, maybe we can do more to teach people that if you do yoga, you can not suffer the ill health so much.
Yeah.
That's up to us, no?
And show as healthy people, and
exactly.
Actually, this can be inspiring as well when they see you healthy and happy, and they'll say, "How do you do that?"
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
But yes, we need to spread the word.
Yeah.
I was also thinking, was there any transformation that you have seen during your 25 years now, you said, since you first started, on yourself or on someone else?
So personally, there's been this huge shift, like I said, of moving or getting a deeper understanding, because I also came to yoga in the UK, where that it is about yourself and your, calming your mind and finding your peace. And I really think that all that's really, really valuable. And that's also the space from which I came to it. And it's been this long journey. And the transformation for me is really, it's not about me. It's not about me at all. It's about how I can contribute to something much, much larger than myself. And that was a huge leap in understanding of the philosophy for me. And also an interesting journey that I went on in the last 2 or 3 years. The understanding that this life is not about me came. I had an epiphany moment a few years before that, but the understanding of how that actually is the practice and how that is my yoga has been something that's kind of been percolating in my mind over the last 2-3 years. And I feel like I've finally kind of landed in, this is how I can explain that. I needed to find the words to reconcile this person who goes out in the world and participates in protests and stands for things that I believe in, with this perception that yoga is supposed to be all peaceful and zen and quiet. And these two things look very different on the surface. But for me, over the last couple of years, I've realized the steps that it takes for me to actually go, actually, they're the same thing. It's taken me time to come to that place, and that's why I created Conscious Courage, which is really this call for us as yoga teachers to show up. I see a lot of stuff in the wellness industry. Like, we're talking about wellness, we're talking about caring for humanity in our practice. But if we can't speak on topics where marginalized communities might be oppressed, or we can't speak on bigger topics like Israel and Palestine, and I've seen that a lot in the wellness community. You know, people are still showing their asana, they're not showing their concern for the bigger things that are happening in the world that we're living through. There's a disconnect in that for me. And so this last 2 years has really been a journey of how I make that connection, and I understand that integration well enough to explain. And I think on the surface, people will look at me and kind of go, who is she? What is she doing? But if you actually have a one-to-one conversation with me, I can explain it very clearly that in our practice, we are called on to be one with nature, to be one with one another. And that separation, if we can live in the understanding that there is no separation, then we don't want to harm the planet. We want to look after the environment for future generations. We want to stand up when we see injustice and oppression. And as soon as I made that connection, it all came clear. And that's been a huge transformation for me, because that is not where I started.
Yes,
Yeah.
amazing. Is there anything you want to add? I think that was all of my questions for today.
No, I think hopefully I explained that clear enough so people will understand this thing, because it's really felt a lot like it's gone on in my head. But I have found some amazing yoga teachers and practitioners who are doing this work, who are vocal and calling for humanity and standing for humanity. It's not about one side or another at all. It's about standing together in solidarity, because our practice asks us to do that.
Yes, yoga itself means
Union,
unity, right?
Right? Exactly.
Great meeting you, Serena, and
Thank you. I hope it was useful.
if people have questions, they can ask, and I believe you will answer, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Happy to answer. Thank you.